Let's talk about one of the most maddening experiences out there. Being absolutely, completely bone tired, but you just cannot fall asleep. Does this sound familiar? You've dragged yourself through the entire day, you're fantasizing about your bed, and then the second your head hits that pillow, bam, your brain decides it's time to host a party. It is such a frustrating, exhausting cycle. Well, welcome to Sleepia, a corner of the internet dedicated to the science of sleep and circadian rhythms. Today, we're going to dig into exactly why that happens, and more importantly, what you can actually do to unlearn it. All right, so let's just get straight to the heart of it. A lot of people think insomnia means their brain is broken, some kind of biological glitch. But here's the thing. For so many of us, that's just not true. The real reason is actually something much simpler and honestly a lot more hopeful. It's a learned response. That's it. Your brain has just been taught over time to be wide awake in bed. So how on earth does that happen? How does the one place that's supposed to be your sanctuary, your place of rest, become the very trigger for your sleeplessness? Well, it happens when your bedroom basically becomes a wakefulness trigger. There's actually a name for this. It's called behavioral insomnia. And the key thing to get here is that it's not just about what you're doing. It's about how your actions and your environment have kind of ganged up on you, creating this deep unconscious connection in your brain that says, hey, this bed, this is where we stress out and stay alert. Remember Pavlov's dogs? He'd ring a bell, give the dogs food, and pretty soon they'd start drooling just at the sound of the bell. Well, believe it or not, the same thing is happening here, just with a much less fun outcome. Night after night, you're in bed, tossing, turning, getting frustrated. Your brain learns that pattern and forges this super strong connection. Bed no longer means rest. Bed now means stress. So, how do you know if this is you? Well, the classic number one sign is falling asleep super easily on the couch watching TV. But the second you drag yourself to your actual bed, you're wide awake. Or maybe you lie there and you can feel your heart beating a little too fast while you're worrying about how tired you're going to be tomorrow. All of these are just flashing signs that your brain has learned the wrong lesson about your bedroom. Now, this whole cycle of learned wakefulness, it doesn't hit everyone the same way. Research actually shows some pretty clear patterns about who's most likely to get caught in this trap. Just take a look at this. It's a key statistic. Study after study shows that women are about 1.4 times more likely than men to deal with insomnia. And the really fascinating part is the why. It seems to be directly tied to these behavioral patterns we're talking about. And when you look at how this plays out, the differences are really telling. For instance, research shows women tend to report more pre-sleep arousal and rumination. That thing where your mind just races with worries? That's basically training the brain to be on high alert in bed. Men, on the other hand, are a bit more likely to try and cope by napping during the day, which can, you guessed it, mess up sleep at night. And it's not just a gender thing. Age plays a huge role, too. Behavioral insomnia can kick off way back in childhood, often with those classic stall tactics like, just one more glass of water. And get this, a shocking 43% of those kids carry those sleep issues right into adulthood. The problem tends to peak in middle age, and then for seniors, their sleep naturally gets lighter anyway, which makes it even easier for these bad habits to really dig in. This all brings us to a really, really crucial point, and it's one that feels completely backward. Our instinct when something's hard is to try harder, right? Well, with sleep, that is the single worst thing you can possibly do. Seriously, just think about it for a second. In every other area of your life, work, sports, relationships, effort usually gets you results. But sleep is the one unique exception. Sleep is the only human function where effort equals failure. The very act of trying to fall asleep activates all the parts of your brain that need to be quiet. You're essentially trying to shut down the system by revving the engine. It just can't work. I love this analogy. Trying to force yourself to sleep is like slamming your foot on the gas pedal while you're trying to parallel park. You're just creating noise and stress and a whole lot of jerky forward momentum when all you really need is calm, quiet, and stillness. So, we've laid out the problem, we know the triggers, we understand the paradox. But here is the really, really good news. Because this is a learned behavior, it can be unlearned. So let's switch gears and talk about the solution, a really powerful way to retrain your brain. The absolute gold standard treatment here is something called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI. And the huge difference is that unlike sleeping pills, which is just going to put a temporary Band-Aid on the problem, CBTI actually gets to the root cause. It is designed to fundamentally retrain your brain's entire response to your bed and to sleep itself. Now, CBTI has a bunch of different techniques, but we're going to focus on 3 of the most powerful and actionable strategies you can use. They are the 20-minute rule, something called sleep compression, and creating a worry window. First up, the 20-minute rule. This is all about breaking that toxic link between your bed and being awake. The rule is simple, but you gotta be strict. Your bed is now reserved for 2 things and 2 things only: sleep and intimacy. That's it. If you're lying there awake for what feels like about 20 minutes, and please don't watch the clock, you have to get up, go to another room, do something ridiculously boring, and only come back to bed when you feel that heavy eyelid, sleepy, tired feeling. All right, next up is sleep compression. Now, this one sounds a little scary at first, but it is so effective. The idea is instead of lying in bed for, say, 9 hours, hoping to get 6 hours of sleep, you temporarily restrict your time in bed to only the hours you're actually sleeping. What this does is build up a powerful sleep hunger, which makes the sleep you do get way deeper and much more solid. And our final strategy is for that racing mind that just won't quit. It's called creating a worry window. I mean this literally. Schedule a 15-minute appointment with your worries in the afternoon. Grab a notebook, write down everything that's bugging you. That way, when those thoughts try to pop up at 2 in the morning, you can confidently tell your brain, nope, we already handled that. That appointment is over.